Hello, Lisa. This is Sharon on the West Coast.
Well, hello, West Coast Diva. This is Lisa on the East Coast. I should have said West Coast Beauty.
Okay, West Coast Beauty. Well, we are here Saturday morning for Coast to Coast Beauty.
And actually, it's Saturday afternoon here on the East Coast.
That's true, isn't it?
Morning for you. It's afternoon for me.
Afternoon. So welcome, welcome, welcome. You've dropped in on Coast to Coast Beauty. We're just two chicks on different coasts here to bring some joy, information, fun, tricks and tips and encouragement to those who want to live a better life.
Yes. That's that. I couldn't have said it better. Well done. That is what we are all about. And hopefully you'll smile and laugh and maybe get a couple of good chuckles while you learn a few things or reaffirm a few things, or just, join in because it's a positive environment, and who couldn't use an additional positive environment?
Right. So what are we talking about today, Lisa?
All right. We're talking about International Women's Month. And International Women's Day was March the 8th, and that's passed, but the whole month is designated as International Women's Month. So we're going to talk about girl power.
Yes. So you want to tell us how this started?
Yes, I would be happy to tell you how it started. And actually, I had a conversation with a couple of people this month about it. And I found out that they were just retweeting or hashtagging International Women's Day because it was just a thing out there, and they never stopped to take a few moments to look up what exactly is it, why did it start, and why is it when and where did it start, and why is it continuing to go on. And so I did have an opportunity to have a conversation with someone about it. And International Women's Day or Month started all the way back in 1908. Wow. Most women do not know that this has been going on since 1908. And that started because there in New York City, there was a great disparity between the treatment of men and women in the workplace. Women worked longer hours for less pay in worse conditions with no equal opportunities for advancement or to move up or to get better or to make more. And so in 1908, 15,000 women in New York got together and marched in protest of the inequity that was going on everywhere, but particularly in the workplace. And then the next year in 1909 was the first year that it was declared an International Women's Day or month. And since then, this movement that started, really 15,000 women, as big as New York is, it's not a, earth-shattering number of women, but since it started, from year to year, it has grown just by word of mouth at first. And other countries got in on the movement. It spread all over the US. And then from there, it spread all over the world. It's truly international. I don't think there's a major country out there that doesn't have some kind of version of the International Women's Month or Day and activities that go along with it. And it's designed to bring awareness. It's designed to create better work conditions for women, not only in the workplace, but everywhere. Started over the US, and then from there it spread all over the world. Truly international. I don't think there's
Why don't you stop talking, Lisa?
Keep talking. Okay. If I can stop laughing, I'll keep talking. Okay. So, which brings us all the way to 2018. It's bigger than ever. And there's just so much going on. And I really thought it was a timely topic for us to talk about it, because, as I said, a lot of women see the International Women's Day and International Women's Month, especially with social media, the hashtag and the references in social media, but not as many women stop to take the opportunity to figure out what is it and what it's about, and does it have an impact on me, or will it have an impact on my daughters or my granddaughters, and
Right.
I care about. So
Right.
there you go.
Exactly. Yeah, because we know that women have not always had, equal power, no matter what the situation was. That's just the way it has been. But we're changing that, and hopefully we're raising daughters who know that they don't have to take that. And interestingly enough, this year, we've had some major outpouring of intentions of change in our lifetime and in the lifetime of our kids. So we're going to be raising young men who respect women better, and raising women who know they deserve to be respected, because I don't think that a lot of times they get that part.
Yes. I have had the privilege of doing some events with young ladies, and I think the first event that I did, it was a mom who was who, for her daughter's 16th birthday, she wanted to, in lieu of a birthday party, she wanted to have these young ladies have an experience, an empowering experience. And she asked me to come in and talk about, how to love and take care of yourself first, and then it's easier for you to expect someone else to love and to pour into you, but it has to start with yourself. And so since then, I really have had the opportunity to participate in several events, and it's rewarding. It's rewarding. And I have had young women who have gotten grown later and come back to me and said, Miss Lisa, I really loved what you did. I remember. And I have had parents whose daughter attended these events without them, who have called me. And I remember one particular one. She called me. She says, you know what? My husband and I have two different totally belief systems. And so in the house, it's always seems like it's me tugging against her and him tugging against her. And she sometimes, I imagine it's hard for her and she's confused. She said, but hearing it from a stranger, she says, you will never know what you poured into my daughter. Hearing it from someone who had no vested interest in pulling her in one direction or the other. She says that she was almost crying. She was like, I was totally touched by what my daughter came home and shared that she heard when she was, in that environment with you. So rewarding.
Over the years with having my own daughter and trying to participate in activities that she was in for many, many years. I coached cheerleading, dance, and things like that. And I run into these young women in the store sometimes with kids of their own. And, it's really rewarding to see what they've grown into, and that, they'll say, you did this and that, and you showed me this and so forth. And I tell you, they always were able to use my business to gain fundraisers. So my business was always able to get, extra socks and cheer competition fees and little outings and so forth, and things that were different. I mean, I would take them to the some of the tapings of the shows, like in that time it was like In the House, the Fresh Prince, and so forth. And so they got to experience things that they normally wouldn't. But that was what I was about with my daughter, is making sure that she experienced things outside of her general environment. And so I was able to spread that with some of the girls, and they, it's really nice to hear that when you get to be an old lady that
Yes.
made a difference in somebody's life. And so, yeah, that's
Yes. And I would like to read something that I saw on several different articles that talk about the International Women's Month. And it says, the articles end with something like, so make a difference, think globally, but act locally. And so I think that's what you and I do. We understand that this is a global initiative,
yes.
but we can't change the world, but we can help make a difference in our own little corner of the world. And so every woman who makes a difference in her own little corner of the world is just another piece of the global whole. And so it took me a while to figure that out, because when I was younger, I thought, I'm just me. I can't change the world. And really, a world full of women thinking like that is what got us here now. So if we think like, yeah, it's only me, but if I work on my little part and you work on your little part and you work on your little part, then yeah, we do make a difference. And it also thinks about remember the metaphor of the man who was walking on the beach, picking up starfish and throwing them back in the water. And there were like millions on the beach, and somebody came along and says, you know what? You are one man and there are millions of these things here. You're not going to make a difference. And he said, well, I made a difference to this one. And he threw it back into the ocean. And so that has stuck with me. Yeah, you can make a difference to one, or you can make a difference to many, but you make a difference to what you do, what you can.
Right. Exactly. Along with those lines, I was looking at some of the women that have made a difference. Like today here in Los Angeles, we're having the what's it called? Now my mind's gone blank. It's the Walk for the Cure.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm not sure if it's just today all over, or there's different Saturdays at different locations. But this was started by Susan Goodman, and then later Susan Goodman Coleman. So a lot of people think that it was because she had cancer, but it was actually her younger sister, Nancy. So she was taking up this, what do you call it? Banner, to champion a change for specifically having research and development and knowledge, and be able to get information out to people after her sister died from breast cancer. So today they're celebrating survivors.
Mm-hmm.
That is truly something to be proud of, that you survived. It's not an easy cancer to deal with. We've talked about breast cancer in other episodes and so forth, but she made quite a bit of difference in her little area, and it went globally. Isn't that amazing how she could just, her little area, and other people found this was something that everybody needed to hear about and so forth. So now her kids are the CEOs and running with this program and so forth. What I'm impressed by is that 20% of everything that's taken in goes to research, 39% goes to public health education, 13 goes to health screening services, 5.6% is treatment, fundraising is 10%, and administrative cost is 11.3%. Now, we all know that, a lot of organizations get into trouble with the administrative costs being way absorbent, and the amount that they can actually put out to make a difference is lessened by that. But they have so many volunteers that they are able to keep 39% actually going to public health education. And that, to me, is very impressive. Then I thought about what we do, Lisa.
What do we do, Sharon?
What we do is we are part of a magnificent direct sales company, and in the beauty industry.
Yeah.
And as African American women, this particular woman stood out to me because she is not only did she was one of the first startups for a direct sales business in the beauty industry, but she actually was the first, let me get my finger, the first self-made millionaire, female millionaire, the first female millionaire, not just Black, but female across the board. Mm-hmm. This woman was born a slave, was born to two people that their parents were both slaves. She was born a slave. At 7, she was orphaned, married at 14, divorced with a child by the age of 20. And at that time, her hair started coming out.
Stress.
Yeah, we know that real well now. Stress.
That's my verdict. She was stressed out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But out of her trying to fix her own situation, she started the company as a philanderer, entrepreneur, activist for women to be able to have products that work on our kind of hair. This woman's name is C.J. Walker. That's who we know her as. She was actually born Sarah Breedlove on December 23rd, 1867 in Louisiana, as I said earlier, and started having this hair loss. So she starts to look for ways to help her own hair loss and help make her hair stronger. And in doing so, she created this whole industry that
today,
I mean, it went into colleges, it went into stores. She trained other people. She taught on all of this, and it's what we have on the shelf now. We would not. It would be totally different if it was not for Madam C.J. Walker. Now, as I said, she was born Sarah Breedlove, but she married Charles Joseph Walker. So in her circle, she became known as Madam C.J. Walker. So that's why the products that's why the business was then called Madam C.J. Walker. And what was impressive to me is when she died in 1919, she left 2/3 of her empire to fund other women's entrepreneurial efforts.
Wow. That is impressive. That is impressive. Yeah. That is impressive. And again, I want to say two things. I want to go back to Susan B. Komen, the Race for the Cure or the Walk for the Cure. In the past, and you read off the statistics of how much of the money goes to where. In the past, that organization caught some backlash because there are people who think that more of the money should have been going for medical, for helping pay medical bills for people with cancer, and less should have gone for education. But when you look at it, the number of people who get cancer and the number of people who need medical help, the amount of money that they get in would not be able to handle that. But what it can do is it can help educate us on how to early detection, or in some cases prevention, like the things that we know that help drive cancer or causes cancer. And so it reminded me of my mom says an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And so of course, more that's where the amount of money that they take in can have the biggest impact. It's just why you and I are here today, because hopefully somebody will listen or hear this and I was able to get something that will steer them in a direction where they can avoid something that's bad. And so I really, when I was listening to the whole the debate on where the money should go, I totally get it. But when you have a loved one with cancer, you want the money to go to help them. But when you're in a global initiative, and we're talking globally today, I mean, we act locally, but we think globally. When you think on a global initiative, education has a way bigger impact than helping a few people with medical care. And hopefully there are other avenues to get that care that you need. So that's what I thought about with the Coleman, with her, what she has done. Like you said, started just because of her sister, and now it's international. Okay. She didn't know it was going to go international. She started it because of her love for her sister. She wanted to make an impact in her little corner of the world. And meet Madam C.J. Walker. She started because she wanted to be a little cuter. Okay. And that's what we girls are about. Yeah, we want to look cute. Sometimes she didn't want her hair to fall out. So she had no idea it was going to go global, because the black hair care industry is global. Okay. And so she did what she could, and she made a big impact. And there are thousands, millions of women around the world who are making a difference in their own little corner of the world. Some of them are going to go national. Some of them are going to go global. Okay. And you and I have been privileged to have an impact on our little corner. We have helped hundreds, thousands of women to look and feel better about themselves. And we have helped hundreds, perhaps thousands of women to start an entrepreneur business to help to move them into a better financial situation. And that's what I thought about when you were talking about Madam C.J. Walker and her leaving the majority of her estate to help other women start entrepreneurial businesses. She saw the value of it. And thankfully, we see the value of it too. I know I talked kind of long, but it was just in here and I had to get it out.
Yeah. Well, and then what about the people who impacted us? I mean, oh my. Yeah,
Okay, I'm sorry. You went out for just a minute. Repeat.
I know. I'm starting some static there. I mean, I would just break out in tears thinking about some of the women who have impacted my life. And I've talked about that before, that, it seems like God moves someone in my life just when I need a certain thing. And I can, now that I'm older, I can identify those women, and I can identify what the need was they were there to fill, and so forth. So that really impacts me to want to do the same thing and give back in the same way to other women. We could be here for hours, me mentioning each and every one of them, but there's just so many. But I think that's what it's about. My partner, when I my domestic violence program, he used to constantly say, we're echoing. He didn't say that, but we're echoing. Lisa. He used to constantly say, each one teach one. And I know that's the whole concept of education and mentoring that we endorsed over the years. But it's truly like that. You run into a young girl and you can kind of see the sad in her face. You can see the loneliness. You can see that she needs something. I mean, and just saying something to her like, oh, don't you have some beautiful eyes? I mean, it takes nothing from you. It takes no time at all. But that might be something that just lifts this child's day, this child's sense of self, this child's worth. And it doesn't take much at all. So I think that's something that if you've had other women pour into you, you kind of owe it to pour some of that out to someone else.
I'm glad you brought that up. And it's true. I can look back every step of the way and see that these intersections where what I needed, the person that I needed, just happened to cross paths with me. Sometimes even before I knew I needed it. Sometimes it's hindsight when I look back and say, oh my goodness, that woman crossed paths with me exactly when I needed. The person who helped introduce me to the business that we're in. Okay. She didn't say, hey, here's a business, look at it. But because of something she did, she crossed my path at a time. And looking back, I can just see it all stack up. The person who took me to Bible study when I met my husband when I got there, that kind of thing. And she was, but she was, it wasn't just that she took me to Bible study. She was encouraging me to, to build or solidify my relationship with God. And then from there, she made a big impact on me. And then like you said, time will not permit us to go on and on. But here's my final thought on this. I am teaching myself, and I want to reiterate that it is not a natural or a foregone thing. It is something that I realized the need for, and I realized the value in, and I am teaching myself to first do no harm. Okay. When it comes to other women, mankind in general, but especially woman to woman, the television and the media and the news try to teach us to bring each other down. It tries to teach us to bash each other. It tries to teach us that the only way to get ahead is to step on someone else, or at least pull them back so they don't get too far ahead of you. It tries to teach us not to see the value and the beauty and the uniqueness of other women. And I am teaching myself not to fall into that. You know what? If there's someone who is doing something that I don't like, I actually talk out loud to myself. I try to find some way to make it okay so that even if it's just, you know what, she doesn't know any better. If I don't like what she's doing, she doesn't know any better. Nobody's born angry, bitter, mad. Babies aren't born that way. And so something in that person's life created the situation that she's in. And maybe she just doesn't know how to get out of it. But I can either put her down and bash her, or, condemn her for it, or I can try to be something for her to aspire to. I can be the person who encourages her to move out of that and do better. And so I'm taking the long way around to say this. First, do no harm. I know that's the doctor's creed, but if you can't find something good to say about somebody, just don't say it. If you can't find a reason to uplift somebody, then just fade into the background. Don't eat anything, but first do no harm. If you can't do good, then at least do no harm, especially when it comes to our international sisterhood. Okay. Mankind in general, but it's international sisterhood.
Yeah, we do a lot of damage to each other. We compare ourselves way too much. We need to we want to make ourselves look better in someone's eyes, maybe just our own eyes, I'm not sure. But we have been known to be quite a little catty species of people. And we don't have to.
Shade. They come up with a new name for it every so often, but now the name is throwing shade.
Yes. Throwing
worse. Yeah.
Well, last time we were on, Lisa, we were talking about these little things on Facebook, and we had these little questions. So I wanted to just go over a couple of them real quick. Things I say all the time. Lisa, while I'm thinking, you go ahead and answer that.
Things I say all the time?
Things I say all the time.
Well, if you're talking about things I say all the time, like mannerism, One of the things I say all the time is, I'll tell you what, or I'll tell you this, or I know this. But if you're talking about things I say all the time as far as quotes or mantras to live by, one of mine that oh my goodness, I almost say on a daily basis, how you are in anything is how you are in everything. So if you are untrustworthy in little things, okay, or if you cut corners in little things, or if you have do something that's little, you're likely if the circumstances are right, you're gonna have to do it when it's important, when it's really important. It's like, the person who puts together parachutes for people who jump out of airplanes. If you are half stepping in one area, I would be really cautious about trusting you to put that parachute together in the big things. So that's one of the ones I say all the time. How you are in anything is how you are in everything. That's your natural inclination. So I say it to my kids. I say it to my husband. I say it when I'm talking to people. I say it when I'm talking about myself. I even correct myself. I say, Lisa, come on now. How you are in anything is how you are in everything. Is that really the way you want to go? And so, yeah, I talk to myself.
Mine is something similar to that. If whatever you do or don't do, and you're staticking again.
I can hear it.
Oh, this is a really bad connection today. What's up?
Just for a second, it cleared up.
Oh, it did, yes. If you, whatever you do or don't do, someone is watching you.
Okay, that's a good one.
That's one that I often repeat. And then also, just looking at things, look at it holistically. Because nothing happens in a vacuum. There's things going on outside of it that we're not always aware of and that we're not looking at or not of importance to us at that time that impacts this situation.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know what? That's a good one. That's a good one too. Definitely. I might be borrowing some of yours. My next one is be obedient to the process. How many times have you heard me say that?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I'm always saying be obedient to the process, and everything has a process. Okay. Business has a process. Relationships have a process. Parenting has a process. Finances have a process. If you don't want your finances to be in the tank, they definitely have a process. And so be obedient to the process. And again, it comes down to cutting corners or to trying to pick and choose what you want to pull out of that to be obedient to. When it comes to doing the business, I'll tell you this. Look at me. That's another. I'll tell you this. My husband just recently started a business, and there's a lot of little pieces that go into setting up a business structure correctly. And I have seen where people cut corners or they think that's not important. And then pretty soon they're out of business. Sometimes the little things really do make the big things. And so if you're obedient to the process, then you're not going to flake on the little stuff thinking, oh, this is the big thing. I'll take care of that. This one right here is not important. No. If that's a part of the business process, you need to do it. Even with relationships, there are certain things, communication, talking things out, all kind of things that are part of the process. If you try to skip over something and negate it, the whole thing crumbles. It's part of the foundation. The whole foundation crumbles. So yeah, I say that all the time, and in all kind of different situations. I'm like, be obedient to the process. It could be what you do to your hair. Okay. Skip conditioning it a couple of times to see what happens. You in a hurry? Okay, I get it. But you need to
leave out that moisturizer a week or so.
You'll find yourself spending way more time, energy, money, effort trying to fix something if you're not obedient to the process.
Yeah. And it's everything. Home repairs, car, everything, your relationship, everything.
Yeah, car maintenance. Skip those oil changes for long enough. You'll see. Yes. So everything has a process. And if you're going to do something, It's your job. It's your responsibility to learn what the process is and to be obedient to it. That's all there is to it. Or don't do it.
Did we do this one last time? Things most people don't know about me.
We did.
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah.
Did you want to do it again?
No, we have plenty to do. Moments I wish I could relive.
Moments I wish I could relive?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Relive moments. Ha 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 ha. There's one that stands out. We were on an incentive trip that we had won from the company that we're in. And there are two. One was in Hawaii, and I was watching the sun come up from Diamond Head. It was one of the single most beautiful sights I have ever seen. And I mean, just literally made my heart stop. It was tripping over itself. It was really, really, really beautiful. I'd love to go, and my husband wasn't there with me, and I always say, we got to go back. I have to see this with you. And so that's one of them. Another moment I would like to relive is, but he was there. We were on another incentive trip, and we were in the Rocky Mountains, and just up on a glacier, looking down, everything looked so tiny. I felt so small in the grandiose scheme of things. And honestly, it sounds cliche. I felt so close to God. I was up so high. There were clouds below us. And it was a moment that out of all the places I've been, all the things that I've done, those two things stand out to me. Where I was standing above the clouds. Couldn't breathe because the air is so thin up there, but it was a beautiful moment, and I was happy to be sharing it with people that I care about. Okay, for you, go.
Ooh, there's so many things.
Yeah.
I would like to relive the birth of my kids awake.
Oh Lord.
Because when I have both of my children C-section. The first one, I was totally asleep. Like 6 months later, then they stopped using that procedure. But I mean, my son was probably three hours old before I actually ever saw him.
Oh.
And by then they had cut off things off of his body. He was in my family. We have a extra finger, and he had he was the only one in his generation, I think, that had those extra fingers. And they just cut them off. They didn't get authorization or anything. I wanted to see it, just to see it before they did, but they chopped it off. And by the time I saw him, he had a Band-Aid on one and 2 stitches on the other, because the other one was more formed. Now my daughter, I was partially awake, but they put me out like halfway through or something. So I really wish I had the opportunity to relive that, but I did get to relive the birth of 2 of my granddaughters. I was in the waiting room for 2 other of my granddaughters, but that's that experience is just, that's like a godly experience. It truly is, seeing this life come out. And I mean, me and the other grandma were holding hands and crying and everything. It was just really a spirit. It's just a spiritual feeling, that there's somebody greater and bigger than you involved in this whole process and so forth. So that's something that I would love to relive. And there's some things I didn't appreciate as a kid, being an Army brat, that we saw and had the ability to take part in and live through and so forth, that as a kid you didn't think was a big deal, but now I think, wow, that was history, that I was there. I mean, I was in Germany during the Munich Olympics. That we were not in Munich, but it drastically let us know that we were in a foreign country, because things totally changed I mean, barbed wire fences as tall as my house all the way around the housing complex, and somebody holding a gun to you before you can get in and show your ID and so forth. It just totally changed from night to day when that happened. So, I mean, there's things like that you just kind of think, well, I wish I'd have paid better attention. But,
History. History. I remember Martin Luther King marched through my city when I was a little girl. And I remember everybody running out of the house and going, following them. It was like a big crowd. I remember that. That was the only thing that I can remember that was historical, that I didn't realize it was historical at the time. And because I grew up in a town in an era where there was a whites only signs, and there was a, no and the N-word signs, and there were grocery stores that my mom had to shop in, but we could not go into the other grocery stores. And I remember after the boycotting, when my mom was finally able to walk into an A&P, or which was the big grocery stores that Black people couldn't, and still they separated into one side for us and one side for them. And so, I remember that. So that's about the only historical thing that I have lived to see, that I really didn't know it was historical at the time. It was just life in small town, in a small town in the South. It was just life. Wow, look at what time it is.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, wow. We had, you know what? So the conversation was on International Women's Month, and hopefully, we didn't, even though it started out almost like a political movement, it has moved into a empowerment movement, more so than political. And so I'm all about empowerment, especially for women. Because I'm one, I just connect with them. And so I hopefully what we talked about today shed a little light, a smile, a few tips on International Women's Month. And when it comes around next year, or for the rest of the month, you will start to look at it a little differently and notice the things that are going on in celebration of this month a little differently. That's what we aim to do. And, next year, before March come around, you might start to notice that some of these things are happening or gearing up to get going.
True. Very much. Very much. And you might have noticed that we are not on Friday today, which is our usual day. Lisa and I wanted to see how doing it on Saturday. We have a lot of people that tell us, like, well, you're on when I'm at work. So we thought we would try doing the month of March on Saturday. So you'll be able to join us next Saturday and the Saturday after that here at the same time, but on Saturday, just to see if that helps out a little bit for people to be able to join us live more. But as always, Lisa, you want to tell them?
No, you tell them. I just drew a break.
We appreciate our replay viewers. We have a lot of strong replay viewers that catch us when they can, and we really love you. We respect you. We appreciate my grandma, who's always here no matter what, even if she's in the hospital.
Oh my goodness. Yes, we do
those of you that have joined us. So we will see you next Saturday at 11 Pacific,
2 p.m. Eastern on Coast to Coast Beauty.
So we're going to go ahead and do our traditional sign off, which is